All right, it has been some time since we've had another hero, and I am a bit late to this video. I'm in the process of moving, so it's taken me a little while to do this video than normal. But we have Anduin Wrynn, the newest hero for Heroes of the Storm, which is currently on PTR and will be out next week on Tuesday for North America and Wednesday for Europe. And he has some really interesing talents and some pretty straightforward abilities. So let's get right into it. His Q it feels a lot like the Priest Q from World of Warcraft, the Flash Heal, where you have a short cast time and then you do a quick little heal. His W, on the other hand, is rather interesting. His W fires off and it does damage on the way out, and then it grows and it does healing on the way back. So let's toggle cooldowns for a second. And the more enemy heroes you hit, the more it will heal. You can reposition yourself afterwards to try to heal more allies if you want to. And you can also kind of curve it a little bit. So say, for instance, it starts chasing you this way, you can curve it around and heal more targets. It does also go a little bit behind you too. So if you just run up to a target, even if you don't actually get behind it, it's enough to where it will still heal that target. So it is a really cool ability that is, I would say this is probably the most unique thing in his kit. Then he has Chastise, which is a root, allows him to get a difficult to land CC. It's very slow moving, and it only roots the first thing that's hit. It does not hit minions, it only hits the enemy heroes, which means that it is an ability that can be pretty powerful in any team fight. This is going to be probably his biggest skill cap thing, because if you get good at this, it's going to be very powerful, as the root time is the same time as a Varian Taunt. It is 1.25 seconds. So just as easily as you're able to follow up a Varian Taunt, you're going to be able to follow up an Anduin root. So there are some really cool things about that for those healer mains out there that want another hero that allows an early game root for your team to follow up on. This alone will allow him to be a little bit more competitive, because he will be able to throw this. It doesn't get hit by enemy minions, so you can follow up just about anything. Say a Diablo charges something against the wall, you just quickly throw this, boom, suddenly they are followed up by a root, and then you can throw out some damage and do that as well. His auto attack damage is pretty decent, a little bit higher than people like Whitemane, a little bit lower than your average assassin, but it is a decent chunk of damage. He does about 200 DPS at level 20, which is not bad. I mean, that kills an assassin in 10 seconds if he just attacks it the entire time. So it's really not bad. His trait is Leap of Faith. If you remember Leap of Faith from World of Warcraft, then you remember the probably primary reason why you've kicked people out of your guild. No, but seriously, Leap of Faith is his version of a cleanse. It is an 80-second cooldown. It gives Unstoppable to a target as they travel to you, which is generally about 1 second. I will throw in an Alexstrasza really quick, and I'll show you a little bit of what Leap of Faith looks like. At the same time, we'll have cooldowns toggled, and you can see the Alexstrasza, and you can just pull her towards you, and it does make unstoppable during that time. So there's nothing that they can do. It does dismount, so it is something that you can be annoying your friends with, but it does have a long enough cooldown that you can usually only screw with your friends once or twice. And it is a really powerful ability, so if winning is your priority, then it is something that you will want to hold off on. We turn off Alexstrasza for now, and we'll turn off toggle cooldowns. So while it is powerful, I would say in some aspects, if you're using Cleanse defensively, Leap of Faith is just better than Cleanse. But if you're using Cleanse offensively, Leap of Faith is just generally worse. What do I mean by that? Say, for instance, your tank is running through a route that's right here. If you were to fire off a Cleanse so that he can run through this route, he could run right through and then kill someone. But if you try to Leap of Faith him as he's going through a route, you're just going to pull him towards you and it's going to waste time. So I would say it's a much better defensive cleanse and a much worse offensive cleanse. On to his ultimate abilities. I'll be picking up these really quick. Holy Salvation is his first one. This one allows you to channel for 3 seconds and give essentially a Medivh shield to everyone. You are protected from damage, but you are not protected from CC. And you can be interrupted during this time, and you heal % health during this time. So if they stay in it for the full 3 seconds, they get healed for 25% of their max health, and they're protected the entire time from damage. Meaning that as long as they don't CC you, this is one of the most powerful ults in the game. The problem is that it's CCable. It's kind of the opposite of a mosh pit. If you think of it this way, with a mosh pit, you go into the enemy team and suddenly they can't do any damage for that time and they can't move for that time. In the opposite sense of a mosh pit, you're healing everyone on your team and they can't move, but they can't take damage and they're getting healed that entire time. So really powerful talent. I will say that Sanctification's generally better because you can't be CC'd or targeted during it. However, this can be a really powerful talent if you see the CC go out ahead of time and you can quickly pop it. It is a great way to keep everyone alive on your team and just do a great turnaround in the fight. His other ultimate ability, and sorry, I will also talk about the upgrade to this talent before we move on. It allows it to where you heal more and you give movement speed at the end of it. So if I was to toggle cooldowns really quick and I fire off the ult at the end of this, so it does heal more, now we all have this movement speed and we move faster than mount speed. So it's a great way to, if the enemies don't realize what they're doing and they charge into your fight and you pop your ult and then they try to run away, guess what? At the end of the ult, you can chase after them and take them out. So that is the power of that upgrade. Onto his other level 10 ult, he has Light Bomb. Light Bomb does nothing initially, but at the end of a Light Bomb, you can give it to anyone on your team, any ally hero, and then when you give it to an ally hero, it does this thing around it, it stuns everyone, and then it also gives a shield based off of the amount of heroes hit by it. This is a great tool if you're working with a tank that already has a great engage. For example, you have a tank that can slide in or charge in. You see an ETC that's sliding in, you put a light bomb on, the slide goes off, stuns them for 1.25 seconds for the slide, and then 1.5 seconds for the light bomb, and then as the light bomb ends, you can chastise and root them for 1.25 seconds. Let's just say you can lock down people for a long time in this light bomb build. It is really, really powerful and can be a really great tool in the right team comp. It could also be just generally cool for certain other heroes like an Illidan or a Tracer who can charge into the fight, hit a target, and lock them down. It can be a really, really great option. And then those are all of his abilities as well as both of his ultimates. His level 20 for Light Bomb does not have an upgrade for Light Bomb, which means you have to pick other talents. This means that if you wanted to go for Light Bomb, it's either going to be games that you want to end out earlier or it's games that you are planning on picking one of the other talents. So we'll get right into the other talents and talk about it. So the first talent at level 1 is Renew. If you hit an enemy hero with a basic attack, it makes it to where your next flash heal also heals for 252 over 5 seconds. That's a little under 50% of the heal. I would say it's like 45%. That is not bad to keep healing people. So it's a really good chunk if you want to toss out a heal. And then there is the next talent is Pursued by Grace. Pursued by Grace makes it to where every time you damage a hero, you do 61 healing. And I'm going to bring up this talent a lot because it doesn't seem like a lot right now, 61 healing. But there is a lot of little things you can damage heroes with that start adding up quite a lot. So I will talk about this a little bit throughout this. And now this last talent is probably the coolest level 1 talent I've seen in a long time, which is called Bold Strategy. Anduin gains his other level 1 talents, but Flash Heal's cooldown is increased by 1 second. So you increase your cooldown of your heal by 25%, but at the same time, you are gaining passive healing or you're gaining just over time healing. Either one of those. So if the reduce of 25% is worth one of those talents, which I'm going to tell you it almost always is, it is a really cool talent. So I'm going to pick this in both of the builds that I use. So I have already played them a little bit, and I've figured out 2 builds that seem really, really powerful. So I'm going to start off by the easier build, but we'll go through it as I'm still talking about the talents. The next talent is your Divine Star. It fires basic attacks at its apex. Those basic attacks count towards your Renew, and it fires it off at the end. So if I take this talent right here, you can visually see that little thing down at the end. So I'll fire off this, it deals damage, and then it fires off those basic attacks to the enemies. It does trigger my flash heal, so I now have that healing over time. And because I'm firing off 2 basic attacks, I'm also healing for 121. Meaning that 1 second that's being added onto Bold Strategy, which is equivalent to 25% less healing, is actually going to be 121 because I'm doing that extra 2 hits. So that 121 isn't quite there yet, but if I even throw one more auto attack, it makes it worth it. So it does start adding up. And I know that's not the same because cooldowns are all different, and same with Divine Star and all that, but it does add up. This next talent, after hitting enemy hero with Chastise, your next basic attack deals more damage. It will have a higher range, and it heals allied heroes near Anduin for 197. So to talk about this one really quick, and we use this, we fire off this. This will give you the burst, and it does a pretty decent sized heal. So if you want to see really quick, we fire off that, and you can see the radius that you can heal is rather large. So it's actually a pretty good talent if you want to like burst an enemy hero really quick. So if you're going to be following up with, say, a Diablo that's going to charge in, and then you fire off a Chastise onto them and root them in place, you'll get a decent amount of burst to follow up. So in blow-up compositions, this could be a really good talent. But overall, it's not in either of the builds that I'm going to be showing you. Inner Fire makes it to where you get increased attack speed and attack range. This gives you really sustained healing because you're going to be attacking faster, as well as it's going to be a lot easier to do more damage to enemies with that higher attack range. Level 7, Flash Heal also heals Anduin. So you're going to notice all of the level 7 talents are about self-survivability, and all of the level 13 talents are about self-movement speed. So level 7 talents, you either heal yourself whenever you use Q, your W will grant a shield as long as it hits an enemy hero, or if you get bursted, you will get a healing over time for a greater amount. So if you get bursted more than 8%, you heal for 15% with a cooldown of 11 seconds. Overall, in a lot of these, I think the W build, you're going to be picking up the shield, and in the other, I'll say that my other build is an auto attack build. You'll be picking up the Q talent. Level 10, in the W build, we're going to be picking up Salvation, and in the auto attack build, we're going to be picking up Light Bomb, and I'll tell you why as we get to those builds. At level 13, you get movement speed while you have your W going. This is really beneficial if you want to hit a lot of enemy heroes with your W, and then run your way all the way up to your team so that they get that big heal. That extra movement speed really makes it beneficial to get around and deal a lot of damage to enemies while getting to your team. Enchanted Boots gives you passive movement speed, 5% if your trait is on cooldown, and 15% if your trait is available. So if you find yourself using your cleanse a lot, this might not be the talent for you, but if you find yourself sitting on your cleanse a lot, then a flat 15% movement speed is just generally good. Push Forward makes it where you get movement speed every time you damage an enemy hero, stacking up to 15%, lasts for 6 seconds. And then on to level 16, all of these are just really powerful talents. You have the Even-Handed Blessings, makes it where as long as you're healing a different target every time with your Flash Heal, or alternating between 2 targets or hitting a bunch of different ones, you will be reducing its cooldown by 40%. So it is a really strong talent. I think this is probably one of his best talents. But there are other talents that are good depending on the build, so I will talk about those. Holy Nova makes it to where when you catch the Divine Star, it explodes, healing allies and damaging enemies. I will say that you're not going to be doing this a lot unless your team is all melee. This is going to get very little value. So I wouldn't really recommend this talent. Clustering on your enemy or on your allies is usually a mistake because it makes you susceptible to AoEs, and the radius is very, very small. So it's not really a great talent at all. I think they need to double the radius to make this valuable at all, or make it to where the damage of this explodes at the apex and the healing explodes on you. That way you can kind of move to an ally when you need healing, and the damage is going to explode at the apex. That would make the W build good. But the W build actually runs Inner Focus, which makes it to where you can reset the cooldown of your Flash Heal, making it heal more, and it makes it to where your damaging enemy heroes with Divine Star lowers the cooldown of this ability by 10 seconds, meaning that if you hit 2 targets with your W, you can reset the cooldown of this. And then Lightwell, which is a really cool talent in World of Warcraft, which makes it to where you drop down a well and it heals the targets that are nearby. But the radius is rather small in this game, almost too small. So you really have to set it in places that the enemies are going to be. The cooldown is 70 seconds, but it does lower the cooldown based off of the amount of times you heal something. So say I tossed one right here, you can see it even reduces its own cooldown. So at a minimum, This is going to shave off 10 seconds of its time, and it lasts 10 seconds, which means that if you cast this, it's at a 50-second cooldown when it's over, and any extra healing that you can do will lower its cooldown further. Things like like Pursued by Grace, when you auto attack, you're going to be shaving off 1 second every auto attack. Every W you fire is going to be doing damage to that, and it's going to be healing all of your allies, shaving off extra seconds, and the healing over time from your Q at level 1 also shaves off a second. So the 70-second cooldown in team fights generally is closer to about 20 seconds or 25 seconds. So you can see you're shaving off a lot of time very, very quickly. I would say it's a powerful talent if your team's sitting still for a long period of time, or maybe if you are going to be picking up Holy Word Salvation, as you can combine both of these together to heal your team quite a lot by tossing down one and then tossing down this one as well. And you can see the cooldowns are being fired off that entire time. So teams that are grouping up for a major team fight could see a lot of benefit in taking both of these talents. However, that is not a talent that I would recommend too often, and I'll show you the other talents that I would recommend. Level 20, upgrading this, again, gives the movement speed and the extra healing. Glyph of Faith gives you 2 charges of your cleanse, maybe if you're going against a team that has a lot of CC. Maybe a hook against one team, maybe a Kerrigan against another. Basic attacks burn enemies. This burn triggers every second for 3 seconds, meaning that you will get 3 extra procs of Pursued by Grace per enemy hit. So if you can hit 2 or 3 different frontliners with this, you could be effectively healing your team multiple times per second. 3 times a second, 4 times a second. And the last one's Desperate Prayer. You do a big burst heal to a target, but then you have to kneel down for 2 seconds, and it puts your Desperate Prayer on, or it puts your Flash Heal on cooldown. So let's talk a little bit about the builds that I recommend for Anduin. So I've been able to play him just a little bit, but overall I've been pretty good at naming off the builds that I've guessed will be viable for these heroes, and they end up usually being viable. So the easier build and the build that will likely be the meta build for a long time will be Bold Strategy at 1, so you get the benefits of both of these talents. Then you're going to be picking up the W talents at this level, so you get the auto attacks, so it's easier to trigger your Renew and your Pursued by Grace. And it's also going to be beneficial because your build is going to be pretty reliant on your W. You're going to be then gaining your shield. Now, the shield's going to be interesting because you're going to be hitting the enemies and then running away, but it'll allow you to hit more enemies safer. You're going to be firing off the Power Word Shield for here, and then at level 10, you're going to be picking up Holy Word Salvation. It's just going to be because you're going to be running in and out of fights, and it's going to be, you're going to have a decent amount of single target healing, a decent amount of group healing, and the biggest challenge about this build is the fact that you won't have a lot of burst healing for your entire team. So the Holy Word Salvation will save you from that. You're going to be picking up the movement speed. This is going to allow you to charge into the enemy team. You're going to kind of mount up in between fights, and you're going to charge in, fire off a W, hit as many targets as possible, run away to your team, heal as many people on your team, and then get all of your heals out and go back to the process of kind of auto-attacking, moving in, mounting up, charging in, Wing, moving out, and just doing this over and over and over. That's going to be your playstyle for that. So that's why you want that movement speed. Level 16 in the W build, you're going to be picking up Inner Focus. This is going to allow you to have a lot more burst healing and just a lot more potential in healing a wider group of people at once. So, for example, a rotation might look something like this, where you're going to fire off a Q, then you're going to fire off an Inner Focus to reset the cooldown of your Q, possibly fire off another auto attack in between, fire off a W, move back, hit a target or two, lower the cooldown, do another Q, and you're back to having your Inner Focus back off, throw another Q. So overall, you can essentially get like 2 to 3 Flash Heals, a W, and an Inner Focus, and it's just a ton of healing at once. And if you need to really combine that, the whole rotation could look even crazier than that. So, for example, what might end up happening is you might auto-attack, heal, auto-attack, 1, heal. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, man, that's unfortunate. I messed that up. I accidentally pressed W. So, let me toggle cooldowns again. So, essentially, you're going to heal, auto-attack, and then you're going to reset it. You're going to heal. You're going to auto-attack, and then you're going to hit as many targets as you can with your W, resetting the cooldown, using another Q, and then auto-attacking and keeping those going all at once. If that's not enough, toss an ult out there, and you'll have a lot of extra healing, and it'll be really, really powerful. So overall, that's kind of how this build's going to work, is like generally you're just going in, Wing, trying to heal your team, throwing these off whenever you can, auto-attacking to get that benefit from the level 1 talents, and just if there's any burst moments, you just toss out a press of 1, that W1, and you just keep doing this over and over and over. That's generally how the W build's going to work. Rather easy to play. There is a little bit of complicated things if you want to really push for it. You can also switch to Lightwell if it is on a map that you're going to be fighting in a small area for a long period of time. But generally, you're going to be picking up Inner Focus so you can throw out more heals faster, and the heals are going to heal 40% more. So this is going to give you more AoE healing, more single target healing, just a generally good build. And now onto the auto attack build, which is the other build I think will be pretty good if you're with a coordinated team. So let's reset the talents and let's talk about it. Bold strategy, again at level 1, you're going to be auto-attacking a lot, so you want to get pursued by Grace, but because you're auto-attacking a lot, you're also going to get value out of Renew. So bold strategy. Increase your attack range, attack speed, pretty straightforward. You're going to be using your Q a lot in this build, which means that you're going to want those free heals from your Q. Then you're going to want to pick up Light Bomb, most likely for this one, purely because there's a great auto attack talent for Anduin at level 20, so you don't need to upgrade it. And Light Bomb is a great ultimate if you don't need to upgrade it. Level 13, you're going to be getting the movement speed on damage dealt just because you're going to be attacking really fast, followed by throwing out abilities really fast. So it's easy to stack up that attack speed, or sorry, that movement speed. Level 16, there are 2 options you can go in this build. You can go Lightwell if you really have a target that's going to be standing still a lot, or you're on a map that's going to be standing still. But 9 times out of 10, I want you to be picking even-handed Blessings. This is going to allow you to heal people much faster. And if you're alternating between targets, then you can get the value of Renew off on both targets at all times, and it's just a really, really powerful talent. So essentially how this build is going to work is you're going to fire off a Q on one target, you're going to lower the cooldown, you're going to fire off a Q on a different target, you're going to lower the cooldown, and you're still healing over time on this target, and then you just alternate back and forth. And then when you need more AoE heals, then you just do a quick one of these, and then go back into healing the targets again. And that's pretty much it. That's essentially how this build works. It's just constant auto-attacking, constant damage, decent amount of DPS. You get the movement speed. You can move in and out of fights. And at level 20, you're going to be picking up Varian's Legacy here. This is going to make it to where you heal yourself for the damage done, but because it's dealing damage over time, you're also going to be healing for the level 1 talent. So the more targets you can hit, as long as you're in the radius, you're going to be healing quite a lot. So you can see these burst heals are popping up. And not just that, but you're going to stack up your movement speed almost instantly. So it kind of just completes the entire build. The entire build's great at every level, but it gets completed and it's a really powerful, strong power spike at this level. And your DPS is pretty good on a single target. As you can see, we're sitting around 300 DPS about. And that's not even including your W's in there whenever you'd be casting those, allowing you to melt down an assassin in like 12 seconds. So it's not too bad. Anyways, so those are the builds that I would be recommending on Anduin. There are a lot of other really good talents that I didn't really talk about too much, but there's a lot of talents that I just think you probably shouldn't pick. Really bold strategy just seems way too good to pass up as long as you have an active play style. If you aren't playing really active and you're kind of new to Anduin, Renew's probably going to be generally better, but bold strategy is just active. Holy Reach is a good talent, and I know I don't pick it in the 2 builds that I mentioned, but I do think it would be good in reset compositions. Followed by Blessed Recovery, could be a pretty situational talent against something like an Asmodan, where he's going to burst you for probably 10 to 15% of your health every time he uses Q. To be able to get a nice chunky heal right afterwards is pretty nice. But overall, I think these other 2 talents are just way too good to pass up. But we can pick it up just for this. Both ults have their place. And then we also have I do think that a lot of these have their place, but ultimately these are just generally too good in those builds. The extra movement speed, just I never want to be punished for using Cleanse, pretty much is where I'm at on that. So you could take that talent if you wanted to. Holy Nova, I'll show you the radius. It's just not good. You fire it off, and look at the size of the heal on there. Didn't even hit that, didn't deal damage to that. It's just a small radius. I just think it's too small to be valuable. And at level 20, while Desperate Prayer is really good for keeping alive one target, especially if you combine it with say you're going W build, for example. And I would say if you're going W build into a Light Bomb, This is actually something that could be interesting. You pick up Inner Focus, and because you picked up Light Bomb, you don't get to get the Light of Stormwind. You pick up Desperate Prayer, and kind of watch how this works. Say you needed to really keep alive one target. You could fire off a heal, and then you can use your 2 on him, and then you can reset the cooldown, even though it gave a longer cooldown, and throw another heal out, and then you can reset the cooldown of your 1. So you pretty much aren't punished at all for using the Desperate Prayer. So you can get a really big burst heal, and if you combine all of these heals together, you're pretty much doing an ancestral healing to someone. And this could also still give you the potential for doing a big burst comp. So say, for example, you wanted to like CC someone with this. That stuns them. The stun's over. You root them. The root's over. You fire off a W, and you can pretty much kill them. So this could probably be a higher skill cap version of his W build, and may also be one of the meta builds that is played. Probably a build that I might practice playing a little bit, just because it's a lot of CC, and it's also a lot of burst healing in case someone on your team makes a mistake and you're out of cleanse options. So this is Anduin. He seems like a rather fun healer to play. His healing numbers are a little lower, but if you're really active with him, I feel like he could out-heal a lot of the other healers out there, and he has some great CC. So this is Anduin. Let me know what you guys think about Anduin. Do you like his playstyle? Does it seem interesting? And feel free to check out all of my other videos. I will try to get out an Anduin play video soon, but I may not be able to get that out. Again, I said I'm moving, so I'm kind of busy at the moment, but I will see if I can get a video out in a couple days for Anduin. Thank you guys so much for watching, and again, feel free to check out any of my other videos.